Hi everybody, I'm Brian and today is Acid Rock Day. And you know, when I'm thinking a little bit of a healthy dose of acid rock, I think of Ultimate Spinach and their second album from 1968, their second album indeed. It's called Behold and See. And just look at that cover, isn't that cool? And there's Ultimate Spinach Island, maybe you're drifting out of the mind or the mind's getting into Ultimate Spinach. And what we got the mind flowers here and all this, I love it. But there's this stoic dude who's sitting there all the time or looking at us with great determination, half in black, half in white, and he's saying very stoically, strap yourselves in. This is going to be a very soulful ride indeed. And I love in the eye, it looks to me like there's a bit of spinach in the eye too, which I really like as well. This is not my copy actually. This is a copy of a friend of mine, the Sunburnt Sailor. And I'll talk about more of that in a minute. There's the back cover, still black and white, and with all the track listing. And it's an original 1968 pressing on MGM. And there it is. Now, it is in my hands today because it was brought down to my place by the Sunburnt Sailor. Oh, I forgot to talk about this. It gives us a really nice company inner as well. I mean, how good is that? As we turn over onto the other side, there down here is my main man, Eric Burden, and I love his New Animals period. I think it's absolutely fantastic. But what's the deal with Ultimate Spinach? Why is it in my collection? Well, I originally got in touch with this album by downloading it song by song on Napster way back in the day. By God, it used to take a long time, but it was free. It was all good. It was an easy download, and I put it together on CD for my friend, the Sunburnt Sailor. Now, as we move forward, he got himself an original copy, and it's a bit beaten up. There's a lot of scratches on it, but there was also a dreadful warp. Now, I have a record shop near me, which has a de-warper, and so the album came down, we got it put through the process, and at the end of the video, I'll show you how it worked, and if it worked, I suppose. Anyway, this is part of course, Ultimate Spinach, Behold and See, is part of the Bosstown sound, that legendary sound, and it was put together as a sort of a media and record company hype to try and get to show that the psychedelic scene was really happening on the east coast of America just as much as it was on the west. But I ask, how many children who went to Golden Gate Park also turned around and then went across the country to Fenway Park? Very few, I would suggest. But anyway, what the hell? I mean, I don't mind. I mean, we got Behold and See out of it, didn't we? We got Ultimate Spinach, we got the Beacon Street Union, we got Orpheus, I think. And on Record Store Day the other day, well, didn't we get Eden's Children? So who cares? We got all these great albums out of it. I don't think anybody was too fooled, and that's it. Anyway, the most important thing was those kids. Were they going to Fenway Park or Golden Gate Park? And as the Sunshine Company tells us, children could help us find the way. Guess that decides it then. You know, if the kids are walking that way, who am I to argue? The original album, the first album, I think got to number 32 in the 30s in the charts. And this one only got to 198, which is still not a bloody bad effort, is it? Full of interesting characters. It used to be called Underground Cinema, which I think is a great name for a band. I mean, yeah, sure, Ultimate Spinach just yells and screams the 60s at us, but Underground Cinema could probably last a lot longer than that. And they were led by this guy called Ian Bruce Douglas. And interestingly enough, one night, apparently when he was dosed to the eyeballs, he began painting all over his face, went to a mirror and went, wow, I look like a spinach, an ultimate spinach. And hence the name. And you can check out that first album cover as well to sort of see the face in the Ultimate Spinach, almost like Supertramp's first album, I think, a little bit as well. But he was doing his fair share of the lysergic during this process and apparently alienated the band. And sometimes on this album, you don't actually hear the band too much, but you hear a lot of Ian Bruce Douglas along the way. But we have him on playing every instrument. We have Russell Levine on drums, Richard Nese, I think that's how you pronounce it, but I'm not sure, on bass guitar, Geoffrey Winthrop on rhythm guitar, and then Barbara Jean Hudson and Carol Lee Brit on vocals. I find it difficult to tell the two of them apart, so they do a great job. What can I tell you? But it's just a serious commitment here. Serious commitment, because of these songs here, we have only 2 of the 9 songs come out in under 5 minutes, and 3 of them go over 8 minutes. So, you know, you do have to strap yourself in and get ready for a wild journey through time, through space, and through the mind of Bruce Douglas. Sounds okay to me. Let's get into it. First track up is called Gilded Lamp of the Cosmos. And the way I would describe this one, if you haven't heard it before to get you in a bit, take Hendrix doing Foxy Lady, boom, boom, bang, boom, bang, boom, bang, etc., and slow it down. That's the sort of thing we're going for here. It's very lysergic indeed. There's been some conjecture over whether people like the lead singer's vocals or not here. I find them okay. They might be a bit stentorious, maybe a bit shrill, but it's okay when you've got lyrics like this. Your mind's clouds are flying, shattered colors fall from the sky, flowers explode into laughter, and summer swallows July, July, July. They didn't do it like that. It's just me trying to pronounce July the right way. Behold, behold, and see. Oh, that was terrible too. Doesn't matter. I'm going to give you a little taste of it in a moment. There's a nice guitar solo in the instrumental, which is really cool. And the harmonies between the female singer and Ian Bruce Douglas on the third time around on the verse just work beautifully. It's like they're out of the folk song tradition, songbook, whatever, handbook, guide, whatever it is. Let's have a listen.
Conscious of now are your children. Yesterday has gone forevermore. Tomorrow has already spoken and told you what living is for. Behold, behold, and see.
So straight up after that song is Visions of Your Reality. And it's easy to see early on that the guitarist Ian Bruce Douglas and the singer Ian Bruce Douglas and the keyboard player Ian Bruce Douglas, etc., that he's a bit of a disciple of Hendrix in terms of those rhythms like Wind Cries Mary, Little Wing, Castles Made of Sand, that sort of thing. And that's all really good. But we get a lot of his voice and the guitar playing together, and it seems kind of rhythmically all over the place. It's very psychedelically loose, I think. And the same goes for his vocals. You know, he's got lots and lots of passion, but not a lot of control. Still, he's been to the bottom of the dregs of your soul. And at this point, you know, as I'm listening to this, I think it's the second song. Is this the song which booted a lot of people away from this album? Is this the one where they, you know, pulled the chain on the bus and decided to get off and move on to the next record? It reminds me quite a lot in terms of the song itself, musically, of It's All Over Now, Baby Blue. But I'm thinking, why not just do like what Rocky Erickson and the 13th Floor Elevators did and just cover the damn song, for goodness sake? It's okay, but it's nothing brilliant. The next song up is called Jazz Things and Jazz Thing. And Jazz Thing, it's one of those really obvious 1960s, early 1970s title. I don't know what it is. Call it anything, like I think as Miles Davis said at the Isle of Wight. But the riff here is supplied by the vibraphone and the keyboards. And then now the vocals are softer and more complementary to the music. And it's not about the vocals now. It is kind of about the experience. And this immediately lifts the sunshine, the mood, and we're on this enjoyable trip together. And 90 seconds in, we have a guitar solo. And the groove here is very reminiscent, I think, of Paul Butterfield's East West, and particularly the guitar stylings of Elvin Bishop and Mike Bloomfield, of course. I love the tinkling of the piano and the vibes here. And then we've gone into a waltz with a keyboard and vibes solo / flute thing, which is absolutely drenched in delay, and it works beautifully. It just alters consciousness delicately, subtly, and then just ratchets it up as we go further into the song. The last song on side one is called Mind Flowers, and it is the stone cold classic, in my opinion, from the album. It is acid rock, absolutely personified, and I totally dig it. We've got those Hendrixian guitars coming in again, and there's a downward descending rhythm guitar chord pattern, which is really lending an aura of heaviness here. And the mental images we get when we start to listen to this song is driving down a sparse road, a lost highway, if you will, with the David Lynch reference there, a lost highway, and there's a sign which you stop at and it says "Bad trip ahead." So strap yourselves in, boys. We're going along. The vocals themselves, they seem to come from another galaxy, not, third stone from the sun, but sixth or seventh stone from the sun. And by the way, it's a waltz. It takes a while for the organ to come in, and when it does, it allows the guitars to soar even higher. Really like the drums and the rolls here and the fills here. But remember, for me at least, this is a song where I only want to listen to it about once a year. It's too much probably to listen to every day. I would worry for your health if you were listening to it every day, but whatever floats your boat, whatever drives your gears, doesn't really matter. But for me, once a year, I'm probably in the mood to surrender for this song, and I absolutely enjoy it. And if you had to write an epic acid rock psychedelic song, go no further than working out the conventions of this one. Brilliant twin guitars, dynamics, peaks and trough, organs going crazy, absolutely brilliant. And when I hear the title of this song, Mind Flowers, I'm always reminded of Duncan from the tragedy of Macbeth by Shakespeare, when Duncan says to Macbeth and Banquo says, "I have begun to plant thee and will labour to make thee full of growing." Kind of cool. Will labour to make thee full of growing. And it's Ian Bruce Douglas is here saying, "I have planted mind flowers into your garden and will labour to make thee full of tripping." And when he builds into sacrifice of your ego, sacrifice, let it go. You are cleansed. You will never hear distortion again. And it's amazing that the pinnacle of this song is the spoken section, again, in my opinion, at the end. And it's sort of like we go through all facets, I would presume, of an acid trip. And at the end, we have a way to get out when our ego has been sacrificed. Whew. Let's listen to a bit as we go into side two.
Fallen sounds explode across myriad consciousness of tomorrow's mind. You feel yourself rising slowly and yet falling down upon shattered dreams. Crystal sights are shattered and distorted by reality's truth. Again, you hear the crying of 1,000 harpies as tomorrow is gone. You are cleansed. You are cleansed. You are cleansed. You are cleansed. You will never hear distortion again.
Where You're At opens up side two, and it has a different female singer here, but I'm not sure which one it is. Apparently, this is the only song that they sung on the album, and I can't pick them apart, which probably makes me a terrible person to be listening to for a review. But hey, I am not posing as a champion of the facts here. I'm just reacting to this sort of stuff. This song is probably the closest they got to pop and maybe even a single, and it has that lovely, angelic chorus, which is always a winner in my book. Some great lyrics here. "So you go around acting spaced out on a cloud. The only time you feel good is when you're hidden in a crowd. So you may as well mourn yourself and go round dressed in a shroud." Huh.
So you go around acting spaced out on a cloud. The only time you feel good is when you're hidden in a crowd. So you may as well mourn yourself and go around dressed in a shroud. And
Then we move on to a suite, Genesis of Beauty in 4 parts. And here we get a sense of their progressive rock leanings, I suppose. Or was it just that they were improvising in the studio and going down pathways and finally going, Jesus, we've got to get back somehow? I suppose that might have had something to do with it. But the first part is, I think it deals with peace. and maybe even religion in this situation here, because it's really beautiful with those gorgeous ethereal choral vocals. And yes, it feels almost religious here, almost giving us a sense of, giving me a sense of, should I say, Mass in F minor by the Prunes, and to a lesser degree maybe Procol Harum's early stuff. And the keyboards are a real standout here, which takes us into the second section, which is the city. It's got some interesting lyrics here. Cobweb songs destroy the silence. How do you sing this stuff? That has threatened beauty's violence in my mind. And here's one thing I bet you never knew, is that they invented Angry Birds. The falling leaves of wounded words are captured by Angry Birds. And we're getting onto something particularly groovy in this song. Great keys, the bass, and love the gentle feel on the drum kit. Beautiful. Third section is part 3. It's contemplation. And we're going into some epic territory here when the gentleness subsides just a little and the heavy organ arrives. And it goes for quite a while here. The drone is sublime, reaffirming our thoughts about the religiosity of this experience. And we could be in St. Paul's Basilica. No, I'm not thinking about St. Paul's Chapel in London, next to the Thames, going up the steps to heaven, or in any case, the top of the building, I suppose. And the last section is called Rebirth. And here we are returning back to the opening, those voices again. The world is yearning for the sun that's burning, the path of flowing laughter. Good thoughts will follow after. But you know what? Once again, I think they saved the best part to the end. We get this dual keyboard passage here, which is almost glorious. It's like the peal of wedding bells coming back to St. Paul's there, proclaiming a marriage. But the question must be asked when you hear something like so good like this at the end of the section, after giving up all this time, which is about 8 or 9 minutes, did we go far enough out, or was there something always just holding us on to safety? I don't know. Maybe I would love to hear what they sounded like doing this live. Anyway, let's listen to those keyboards. So the next song up is Fifth Man of the Apocalypse. That's not true. The next song up is Fifth Horseman of the Apocalypse. That's true. And not the fourth, not the third, not the second, not the first, but the fifth man of the Apocalypse. And to carry off this astounding challenge that he's undertaken, this quest that Ian Bruce Douglas has undertaken, he looks around the studio. Let's go back to 68. And he goes, played that, played that, played that, I played that. I ain't played that one yet. And he reaches down, he stoops over and he picks up what he thinks might be an armadillo, the armadillo phone or something like that. But instead, he realizes it's a harmonica and he plays into it and he goes, and it sounds just like a horse. Not true. It's much more pathetic attempt to play a harmonica. Anyway, he uses the harmonica on this trip to give us the melody and the riff of the song. And it works well. It has a certain sense of nostalgia and mournfulness about it, cutting into perhaps the sense of a spaghetti western. And you know what? It reminds me a lot of my favorite psychedelic song that uses the harmonica here, which is Section 43 by Country Joe and the Fish. Wow, absolutely brilliant. But that's just me. There's lots of shimmering and vibrato going along and tremolo. But wait, we get a fuzz guitar, which now takes off for us, and the drummer now goes into double time, and all of a sudden those horses are just driving, they're striving, they're galloping throughout the known universe, if you want. They've taken off, they've gone, and luckily the energy is infectious and the musicians are good enough to keep up. But now we get a section when we come back to is the ocarina perhaps, or is it the flute, is it the recorder, is it the pan pipes, God knows, but they're good, it's going really well. And we go into another section just briefly because they need to find out where the head of the song is, and they get back to that sense of the spaghetti western, and it works really well. Just in those few minutes there, we've gone further than the Genesis Suite of Beauty ever did, in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. Will it be yours? The final track on the album is called Fragmentary March of Green, and the rhythm is established early by sort of the feel of a metronome or a clock, but the message clearly is that time is running out. I love the shimmer of the cymbals. It's very sweet and sibilant, and the mellifluous bass playing here is absolutely wonderful. It gives us a real sense of melody, sort of. It doesn't quite get there, but it works so beautifully. But it is that hypnotic feel of the metronome that's going on, and it's reminding us that we're always on the clock, and unless we get off the clock, then what's going to happen is that we will go insane. The vocals and the lyrics here support this by some really weird free association words. I don't play with balloons because they always explode and get gum stuck in my hair. His wife hangs him all the time and tells her bridge book club friends he's weak. His children kick him in the shins. This is his reward for cutting throats. And then this chanting comes up of insanity, reality, insanity, reality, insanity, reality, with more people coming on. And it gives us a sense of, it gives us a feel of Sgt. Pepper's Day of the Life right at the end here. And it builds with lots of instruments coming in. And they sound like they're, if not out of time or out of tune, they're out of kilter. And it all explodes pretty well. I mean, it's not Day in the Life, but maybe they didn't have the budget to afford the Boston Pops. Anyway, or maybe they were worried about being accused of being phony or copying the Sgt. Peppers and copying the Beatles, but that's okay as well. Either way, Fragmentary March of Green just might be my second favourite song on the album. What do you think? Let's hear a bit. So that's Ultimate Spinach, Behold See, their second album from 1968. And I would really recommend this to you if you like psychedelic music, acid rock, and you haven't ever heard the album before. And if you've heard the one before it, Ultimate Spinach, I think it's a great advancement in terms of the psychedelic quotient, if you will. It's really worth getting on this journey and going for the ride. So I just remembered that I'd forgotten to show you the before and after of the dewarping process. Has it gone from the peaks and troughs, the ups and the downs, to one smooth album? Let's take a look. And here's the before shot, and you can see that it's really like riding on a roller coaster here. And here's the after shot, and you can see there's still a little bit of warping there. I guess after 57 years on this planet, it's a little stuck in its ways. I would love to get a copy of this for myself. I saw it in a record shop the other day. It was hanging up there on the wall and it was $175, double that for Great Britain, double that for America, basically. And my wallet stayed firmly in my pocket, but one day I'm going to get it. Anyway, it's been a pleasure. Thank you to the Sunburned Sailor for bringing you down. It's been an absolute pleasure listening to it again. And a reminder, if music of any size, shape, sound, or genesis suite of beauty turns you on, then who am I to argue with your opinion? There are some other videos right there. If you'd like to listen to some more of my reviews, I'd really appreciate that. But until next time, I hope you're doing really well, staying cool, and bye now.